did you do to it?
Right, this is a Daihatsu Charade that now has an electric motor in it. I spent about 11 months pulling bits out and cleaning it up and putting electric bits back in, and now it runs entirely as a battery electric car.
Right, yeah. What exactly did you put in? Can you point out?
Take through the parts? Yeah. Okay. This is a controller here. It gets a signal from the accelerator cable through this lever. That just says how much current to let through to the motor that's underneath. That's bolted directly onto the original gearbox, and from there on it's just the original drive shafts and things. There's a great big switch, circuit breaker, that's a battery charger, and there's a vacuum pump that provides the vacuum for the brake booster. I've got the original air conditioning still working, sort of hidden down there. And over here is a DC-DC converter that converts the higher battery voltage down to the 12-volt system, and then that just runs all the original lights and horn and stuff.
Great, thanks, Pete. One more question. If someone was to do something like this, what kind of money are we talking about?
We're talking about $20,000, and about half of that's the battery associated stuff. About 5,000 is the motor and controller, and about 5,000 for other bits and pieces.
Pete, have you kept track of how much you spent on electricity?
I actually charge off my neighbour's house and I have to pay him for it. And I think I've paid him about $50 or $60, and we looked at the meter a couple of days ago and we hadn't got up to the next sort of paying point, so probably under 100 still. I've been driving for over 4 months.
Oh yeah, that's a good deal.
It's cheaper than running any petrol car that's available, and that's paying for a premium for green power, so even still cheaper than to run a car entirely on renewable energy.
How do you recharge it?
Well, we probably need to look around the side, but
excuse me.
We'll do that.
Go around the side. Sorry.
Are you alright?
Oh,
it's good we could have. Yeah. So how do you recharge it, Pete?
Just around here, there's where the fuel used to go in, there's a absolutely ordinary 10 amp socket. Just plug it into the wall.
And
that's the nice thing. Here we have a means to charge with renewable energy available in every house.
Yeah. What have you got at the back here, Pete?
So these are the this is the battery. So there are cells in a row here, and then continuing underneath the cover, and then on this side again. So that just drops down where the spare wheel used to be, and that just gives me a bit of extra space for shopping. And I don't think there's much more to say about the battery. It's just a whole lot of cells all connected up in series.
Batteries are lithium ion, are they?
Yeah, they're a lithium ion phosphate battery.
Okay.
Do the batteries need any maintenance?
No, they're sealed. They're sealed up. You don't need to do anything to them. They have a little module that sits on top of each one, which monitors the voltage on each cell and will let you know if they're outside the happy voltage range. But unless an alarm goes off to tell you there's something wrong, you leave them alone and they're happy.
Is there any other maintenance that needs to be done when you're driving a car like this?
I think you're supposed to change the brushes about once every 100,000 kilometres, and apart from that, just checking occasionally that all the connections are tight, and then the only other things are the things that remain from the original design. So you need to check the brakes and make sure the headlights are working and the horn works and all that kind of stuff. But
sounds great. Do you have any heating in it?
Yes, there's a 12 volt 900 watt heating element sitting in the place where the original heater was. That's probably the least satisfactory part of the whole car. It wafts out somewhat warm air, but it's not the prodigious amount of waste heat.
Yeah, you don't want to use your electricity that way. Yeah.
So there is a heater, and it gives some warmth, but it's not like the vast amount of heat.
Yeah.
That you get from a petrol car.
Yeah. But you've been using it for how long now?
About 4.5 months. So I've really only driven it through the Canberra winter, and it's performed quite nicely. Been perfectly happy.
Yeah. How has it been starting in cold weather?
No problem whatsoever. You just turn it on and off it goes.
Yeah.
There's no starting issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I read these batteries can still work at 20 below 0 Celsius, so...
they do decline a little in performance with temperature, but even after the coldest, frostiest nights, when it lives outside in an open carport, it still has quite adequate performance when it's been cold, and when it's been distinctly warmer, I do notice that there's a bit of a boost in power, but it's quite adequate without it. Just a little nicer when I've got it.
Yeah. I spoke to you earlier about regenerative braking. You don't have that in this car, do you?
No, with the type of motor I used, there's just some technical reasons why it's a bit awkward to implement, and most people don't bother trying with this style of motor. It's not actually as useful as people often assume it will be. It might save, in stop-start traffic, it might save you 20% of your energy, which is certainly worth having. In more normal driving, maybe 10% at most. If you have an AC motor rather than the DC motor I have, it then becomes very easy to implement. So if I'd spent twice as much on a more expensive motor with a more expensive controller, I would then have got regenerative braking with little effort. It just comes without any extra effort on an AC motor. But with this one, it wasn't worth the bother.
Yeah. Great, thanks for that, Pete.
Okay, no problem.
How far do you get on those?
About 70 kilometres.